I assume that by the time I'm finished reading this book, my takeaway will be like, that's the future I want for our daughter.
Yikes. Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through Worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
This time we read Tangle 6.2. Tangle point 2? We read 6.2.
6.2. Things are getting more tangled, just as tangled.
Well, they're in a tangle.
They're in a tangle.
We're
allegedly.
In a tangle. We're going deeper into a tangle.
Goodness.
I mean, things really are already in a tangle. We get it called out several times in this chapter where she's like, I'm only going to be with these guys for like 2 more weeks, a month tops. I might be feeling ambivalent about that. Oops. Oops. You know, we kind of... There have been a lot of ongoing tangles.
Is the tangle ambivalence?
Referenced.
Yeah. Ugh, that's tough. Do you have any overall thoughts on the chapter?
It was another kind of low-key setup one. We get a lot of reflection from Taylor. We get some conversation. It was a very Sumbug chapter, and I think we're headed into another Sumbug chapter.
Yeah.
Which is, like, fun and all, but, like, I just got so excited about Taylor and Rachel. And even though I know, I don't expect that to go anywhere in the narrative... I don't know, I guess it feels a little annoying to me to turn back to this ship, especially because this is the one where everyone's like, ooh, they're the ones who are going to get together, like within the story. It's like the obvious one, and I'm never into the obvious one. So,
interesting. Yeah, so is that kind of like, right, what you just said, you don't want to go with the obvious ship, or is it also kind of like the possibility of a queer ship is
I'm just much more interested in the possibility.
Or Rachel is as a character.
Rachel as a character is very interesting, though I expect there would be major complications there. But I'm just always more interested by the possibility of a queer ship. And I feel like we've seen some moments from Brian that make me question whether he'd be a good partner. So like that, obviously there are some other issues with Bitch, but like, it's harder to get excited about that when I've had some doubts about, him.
Yeah. And there's also it's more obvious, it's more real, maybe it's more possible, and so then it's easier to imagine kind of
the flaws it's easy to see the flaws.
Idealized thing.
But yeah, I'm never gonna be like, let's make the het relationship happen. Like, no, that's not how I do stories. I mean, I did enjoy the chapter. I thought there was a lot of fun discussion and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I was gonna ask, like, I feel like I don't want to interrogate you about it, but I would invite you to say more about it, to expound on the, like, I'm never gonna...
Oh, sure. I mean, it has a lot to do with just, personal taste. I find queer stories really interesting. I mean, I am queer and I like queer representation, especially when it's sort of queer self-discovery. And I also just find relationship stories more interesting when it's someone falling for someone that they never would expect to.
Yeah.
And Taylor falling for the tall, handsome guy in this group is like kind of the obvious thing. I mean, Lisa sees it, as she says it, everyone sees it, Brutus sees it,
Yeah.
It's sort of the obvious, like, most easily anticipated narrative. And that's just like, I find that less romantic, I think.
Yeah. No, that's a really...
It's less compelling if it's like kind of maybe what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I see the appeal. And like, I feel like there's something about the only thing that's there with Brian is that he's like a villain.
Well, yes. I mean, it is complicated for Taylor, but...
Right, but I feel like the stuff that seems like a red flag in Brian is not directly related to his identity as a villain in some way. It's like more
true.
about the way he interacts with people. And it is like Taylor cares a lot about the like, but I'm a hero and he's a villain, but that just as a reader, it doesn't seem as salient to me. It feels like such an arbitrary distinction on some level. And maybe we will see this come to a head more, but it doesn't feel the same way as like, oh, well, I know he's, not into people like me, and so it could never happen, which would be the more tantalizing.
Right, yeah. Or her just not even realizing she could be into someone like him.
Right.
Yeah, but, I mean, it'll be fun to see where this goes. I do like the romantic stuff, so not totally opposed to Sumbug. I'm just like a little bit like, are we spending all this time on this right now? Yeah.
Well, yeah, there are lots of cute moments that we will discuss in more detail, but why don't I summarize things?
Please do.
So, Taylor starts off the chapter just telling us what it's like living in the loft on her own these past few days. She loves it. It's great. Nobody's looking over her shoulder. She has been able to do her preferred routine of getting up early and running, but she doesn't have to worry about school. She doesn't have to worry about being home with her dad. And what she's doing to fill the time is keeping tabs on the local Cape scene. She digs into today's headline, Villains Step In, recounting what we saw in the last chapter where Skitter and other villains dealt a blow to the ABB. Taylor has some mixed feelings about the content of the article, being counted among the villains, the fact that the heroes seem to be set up to finish the jobs themselves and kind of like get all the credit, or, you know, get the glory of the final blow or whatever. And we learn that Loon is still at large. He's blinded, obviously, but he has not been apprehended yet. Taylor's disappointed about that. And while Taylor's going through the news, Lisa wakes up. Taylor's gotten some coffee, and before they can really get a conversation going, Brian texts. The school project, online school project he'd been working on, finished early, so he says, hey, come by my apartment. And Taylor's like, okay, well, that's earlier than I was expected, so, okay, got a shower, but the water heater here is a little janky, and, you know, now I'm cold, and I gotta figure out what I'm gonna wear. And Lisa starts teasing her, basically having picked up her phone and gone through the texts, basically being like, so what is it with you and Brian? Are you an item? And Taylor refuses to humor this at all. And she's like, what, are you using your power? Does your power say that Brian likes me? And Lisa's like, no, it's just obvious. It's obvious that you guys could get together. It's just that you and Brian are being dense about it. We learn a little bit of how Lisa is currently thinking about relationships, which we should talk about. And basically Lisa's advice is, I don't really know anything about Brian. If I had to guess, I would say he doesn't even know what he's feeling, but it's obvious to me that you guys could hit it off. You have stuff in common. And Taylor's still trying to deny that she's interested, but Lisa's like, look, you were going to put this really nice skirt on to go over to his apartment. Also, that's very silly. Don't wear a skirt to put furniture together. Here, I'm going to pick out your wardrobe for you. Wear these jeans, wear this butterfly crop top. And Taylor's like, doesn't know how she feels about showing the skin, but she takes Lisa's advice. And then Lisa kicks her out the door, and Taylor's heading to the bus. She reflects about the possibility of a relationship with Brian. She really considers it head on, but as you were saying, she's like, it would be such a bad idea given that I'm going to betray him in a month or less. It would just wind up being salt in the wound for everyone involved, she says. But yeah, we'll talk about it more. And then she also goes on to say, like, she's really trying not to think about it, especially in front of Lisa, because she really doesn't want to let any clues drop. And then she is, like, self-aware. She's like, but also, like, these are my friends. Like, she keeps thinking about them as my friends. And, like, I don't want to betray my friends. But don't think about that either. And then she catches up to the bus. We get a little bit of her talking about Brockton Bay. We're seeing a different area of Brockton Bay. Brian's area is, like, kind of a nicer part of town. It's, like, has a lot of new build, but also on top of the old, more historic parts of the city. We'll talk about it. And when she gets to Brian's apartment, there he is, lying out in the sun, just, like, looking splendid, and almost like he's asleep. He's so at ease. And Taylor goes up to him, and they banter a little bit. He smiles at her. They grab some boxes from the car and start to head on up to his apartment. Taylor continues to be very awkward. She regresses into caveman speak again. And as he picks up the boxes to head into the building, she completely zones out and spends like a whole page just like ogling him and thinking about his body. And then she's like, oh, he asked me a question. Oh gosh, like what have I gotten myself into? Or, damn it, Lisa, what did you get me thinking about? And then the chapter ends. So a lot of time in Taylor's head and a little bit of a conversation with Lisa and Brian.
Yeah. I was really intrigued by the conversation with Lisa.
Yeah.
So she says, basically Brian's not her type, but like it's not like she would be totally against dating him, except that they wouldn't really get along. But mainly her reason is this thing where she's not doing the relationship thing because her power gives her too much insight into people and like all their bad habits and stuff. So I immediately was like, no. Like that rings so false to me. Like I feel like that's not her real reason, or at least even if she thinks it's the real reason, it doesn't quite hold up to me. I mean, like she says, like when you're really into someone, you don't care about their bad habits and stuff.
Yeah.
So it sounds like she just has like never really been into someone, like it isn't willing to date someone she's not super into, which I think a lot of teenagers do, especially girls who sort of feel like that's what they're supposed to be doing. Well, I mean, I guess also guys who'll date, kind of like, they're supposed to be in relationships too. Everyone thinks it's what they're supposed to be doing. And, this person seems like an appropriate person to date. I guess I'll date them. She wouldn't do that, it sounds like. But I don't know that any of this means that she couldn't fall for someone. Also, she says a couple pages later, her power doesn't tell her that much about what people think and feel and want. And do, even. I'm skeptical that she would have to get to this level of information about someone she was interested in. Maybe she could get it, and that puts her off. Like, I don't know, maybe she's really motivated to, like, work really hard to, like, psychologically investigate the people she's interested in. But I don't know. So that's what I was thinking. And then I was like, well, she is, like, 17. 17-year-olds are much worse. So I was like, I feel like I know all of the, like, human and weird things about you, Ted, and I still want to be with you. But of course, I also found those things out gradually. And also, you were in your 30s when we started dating, and I suspect you were probably a much better person all around than you were at 17.
Absolutely.
So, maybe part of the problem is that teenagers just aren't worth dating if you know this much about them. I'm still skeptical that she does know that much, but... Well,
it's I mean... I'm not going to take the wind out of your skeptical read here at all. I think it's really good. I think it's really good to be second guessing things that people are saying in the story. But some of the quotes I thought were really interesting to the point you just made. She says, relationships are hard to get off the ground unless you can get the ball rolling with a healthy dose of self-delusion and lies. Yeah. And I think that is really true. The sort of like many people fall for somebody based on a feeling that's sort of like, if not love at first sight, then like, oh, I want to be with you. And that
desire at first sight.
There's some desire that like some spark that rolls. And what Lisa seems to just be saying is like, well, even if I have that, it gets overwhelmed by what my power's telling me about the guy's more disgusting and degrading character quirks and habits. And so to me, that feels like it's a little bit of a like, for whatever reason, and maybe she's making a joke, but like for whatever reason, what she knows, the sort of intellectual side, is like absolutely drowning out any of that kind of like physical, hormonal teenage experience.
I mean, she is someone who lives in her head. Yeah.
Yeah. But to me, I read it as like, it makes her, I guess, at least functionally demisexual based on her power. It's sort of that like the chance for her to fall for somebody in an immediate way seems to be completely ruled out. That doesn't necessarily mean that, to your point, she couldn't build that stronger connection over time. But I think that what she's saying is like, well, most people get together for these like shallow, self-deluded, superficial reasons, and then you discover through the process of hooking up or dating or whatever whether it's going to work out. Yeah. And she gets like way too far ahead of that to even begin the process.
Yeah. To me, this sounds like someone who's never fallen in love, which isn't surprising. Like, many teenagers haven't fallen in love. I mean, some people never fall in love. That's also fine. But like, I remember our book club years ago read Eleanor and Park, which is an amazing book. And it's about two teenagers who fall in love. And I remember when we were having the book club meeting, like half the group was like, this felt like so over the top, like way, like completely unrelatable. And the other half was like, no, this was like really well done. And we finally realized through discussion, like the people who thought it was over the top were people who had not been in love in high school.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's a unique phenomenon at that age. And it just seems like, you know, that's something that hasn't been part of Lisa's life.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's immune to it, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also, she's presenting it as kind of a like, I think that it presents to me as like the kind of thing that powers do to you, right? It's like it's an interesting
possible.
read.
It thematically fits what we've just seen.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to see it as like not like, oh, you know, she's somebody who hasn't fallen in love, which could be anyone, but like her power has kind of taken that off the table in a certain way, and it works both ways. But it's an interesting read on it.
I also wonder, she does have this attitude of like, we're all playing a game here in the Cape world. And I wonder if trying to date someone would make it all a little too personal, a little too high stakes, a little too emotional for her.
Yeah.
And she really wants to keep it fun.
Yeah.
And dating might not be fun. She kind of wants to like skate by on the surface.
Yeah. But it's also not like she doesn't even talk about it as looking for love, right? It could just be like she would want to hook up with a really hot guy like Brian. But the point is, then she also learns about like that he, you know, eats his boogers all the time or like whatever it is, right? So it's like she's getting, even if she just wants to kiss somebody, it's kind of like, ooh, gross, stop telling me that.
Well, she doesn't say she doesn't hook up. She says she isn't doing the relationship thing.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Maybe she is able to just be like, that person's hot, I'm going to sleep with them, but I also know they eat their boogers, so I don't want to get into a relationship.
No, but to me, I read it more as like more of like a visceral yuck. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe she'll talk about it more later. You know, I don't know, but.
Yeah, everything she says is about relationships, not about
that's a great
sex or
that's a great
hookups.
Point. Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of relationships, I absolutely loved this ominous bead of water.
Yes.
So Lisa's like, you know, you'll have to jar him from his comfort zone before either of you get to, you know, find out, you know, if you want to be in a relationship together. You're assuming I want to. I felt a bead of cold water run down the back of my neck, shivered.
She just got out of the shower.
I mean, yes, but that is a symbolic bead of water right there.
It's very well done.
Yeah, is she going to, you know, lose her heart to the world of villains? Because we do get a few pages later, it's like, it would be a terrible idea to date Brian because I'm still going to betray these people.
Yeah.
And then we get her conflicted thoughts, like you said in the summary. Like, she's saying, okay, I haven't been thinking about that much because it would be a bad idea to think about it because that might give Lisa something to pick up on.
Yeah.
And then she's like, you know, sarcastically like, yep, totally the reason I was avoiding thinking about it. Nothing to do with the fact that I was feeling increasingly lousy and ambivalent over the idea of turning my friends into the authorities. So we do have her thinking openly about how, not necessarily questioning exactly whether she's going to do it, but calling out that she has conflicted feelings about it.
Yeah, and she does not ever name a reason why she would not want to date Brian other than the fact that the option has been taken off the table by the fact that the relationship has no future.
Point. Yeah.
She thinks like,
she doesn't think there was that time he choked bitch against the wall.
No, she thinks it's obviously a bad idea. Not that she doesn't want it. She thinks sort of like, well, here's the timeline. You know, Brian probably isn't interested. Not about how she feels about it, right? But even if he was, the idea of dating with no future is depressing. You know, like... It's just fun that she doesn't think about it directly.
Conspicuous by its absence,
and, she's putting a lot inside this little compartment of like, well, you know, I don't need to think about these things because
I'm leaving.
Everything's going to change.
Yeah.
That day where everything's going to change. It's It's just 2 to 4 weeks away.
Where everything's going to change, including me.
Yeah.
I want to say more about her potentially leaving, but the bit at the end where she's looking at him, I looked at the lines of his shoulders and back and further down his waist and hips as if I could make sense of it, to find that point where his body was different, where it was more appealing than most. fascinating way of thinking about it. I mean, first of all, what she admits there is like more probably than she's admitted in the narration up to this point, that like he is very appealing to her.
Yeah.
But also, I just love how in her head she is about it. She's like, I need to analyze this.
Yes.
Why is he attractive?
Yes.
Why do I want to sleep with this guy?
Yes. It's so Taylor. That's a great
Which
point.
specific part of his body is making me feel like this?
Right. Oh my God. I love that so much.
Yeah. Okay, but going back to her feelings about the group, it's very much like I guess it's like a World War One saying. I don't know if it comes from World War One, but the like, you know, you start out fighting the opposite side and you end up just fighting for the guy next to you in the foxhole. And that's kind of what's happening. It's not a direct parallel, but like it's hard to fight with someone and not be on their side. Like she's risking her life for these people. They're risking their lives for her.
Yeah.
Like they have each other's backs in this really immediate way. And so trying to step away from that really goes against all of the emotional instincts. But she's missing the other half of the equation that would let her stay. She needs to think negatively about the protectorate side of things, I think, in order to feel okay about herself wanting to stay. Because right now she's like at war with herself. She has these emotional instincts telling her to stay. But the rational part of her brain still thinks like, no, I need to be a hero. I need to be on the side of like these guys over here.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really have anything against them at this point. Like Armsmaster was kind of a jerk to her, but like not in a way that would make her change sides.
Exactly.
And so there's this huge missing piece that like I have to expect the narrative to supply in the next 2 to 4 weeks, because otherwise, I mean, we were talking about whether or not she's gettable. Otherwise, I think she still isn't gotten. She's just very conflicted.
Right. Yeah, so your expectation is that obviously it doesn't go down the way Taylor's thinking about it now.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Fair to say.
I would be very surprised. I mean, what a move that would be if the betrayal actually happened. What devastation to wreak on your main character. Whew, that would be fascinating. I don't really expect it, but I mean, this book is full of surprises. Could happen. What I expect is that she will not betray them. And in order for her to not betray them, I mean, to a certain extent, it can just be a waiting game of like, she'll find reasons to delay because emotionally she doesn't want to. But this conflict inside of her, like, it's not sustainable. Like, it's not a stable situation right now.
Yeah.
She needs to have a reason not just to stay on this side, but not to go to the other side.
Right.
And that hasn't really happened yet.
Yeah, she does have some feelings about the heroes earlier in the chapter. But it's really funny because it's honestly, it's very Lisa's worldview or like office politics coded.
Yeah.
She's like, I got the impression the heroes were gearing up to make a final assault today or tonight. Let us do the dirty work and then clean up. Whatever. If they wanted to deal with a cornered Bakata, they were welcome to it.
Office politics is such a funny way. It's like, okay, look, we did most of the research. They're going to make the presentation, I guess. But you know what? It's a really tough crowd, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Have at it.
Exactly. But yeah, that's so different from like, she sort of like is at this point where she's getting a little more comfortable with the day-to-day of the villainy, but she definitely hasn't like flipped either fully into Lisa's like, haha, nothing matters, or a more like, well, the real villains are the protectorate for X, Y, and Z.
She's comfortable with the day-to-day of villainy right now, but she's only really done one job. Like, they did the bank job. Everything since then has been fighting other villains who are totally off the rails and wreaking havoc on Brockton Bay. And
what a great point, yeah.
Basically doing the stuff that she became a cape to do.
Yeah,
so she hasn't really had to grapple in a while with the idea of like the kind of crime that she wants to stop villains doing.
Yeah. And she, to her credit, I feel like she's not reading the newspaper article villains step in and being like, well, they don't understand. This is, fake news. Like she's like, yeah, like this is how people see villains, and I guess I am on their side and it makes me uncomfortable. Like she doesn't want to dwell on it, but she is kind of aware of the contradictions in what she's doing.
Yeah. She is seeing below the media surface already. One other possibility that occurs to me, I've been talking about this like she is going to decide to stay.
Yeah.
That might not be how it goes down. It might not be she gives up on the protectorate and co. It might be that they are so against her that she doesn't actually have a choice.
Ooh,
like she might find herself blackballed from the heroes and need to stick with the villains for survival, even if she doesn't want to be doing what the villains are doing, which is going to put her in a really dangerous and difficult position. Because she's sort of been assuming, okay, I can betray these guys and then find refuge with the protectorate. Like, the protectorate will bring these guys down. It's, they're not going to come after me.
If she doesn't have that option at all.
If she doesn't have that option, then all of a sudden she's someone who was planning to betray them, who still has slightly different, ideals and values than the rest of them. I mean, their values differ among the Undersiders, but, she still has this mindset of like, no, I don't want to cause harm to innocent people. Like, the price you guys are willing to pay for like fortune is not what I'm willing to pay. She is going to have to hide that because she doesn't have a safe side anymore.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a side where she can be fully herself. Like right now she thinks she's going to be able to join the hero side and be fully herself. But if that gets taken away from her, she's suddenly going to have to navigate the world of villainy indefinitely without letting on that she actually in her heart doesn't want to be a villain. Which is a really difficult situation to be in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also possible that like some huge new issue will arise that they all have to face that kind of negates this like, I don't know, are we going to rob a casino this week? Like attitude. But,
sure.
like,
yeah.
Yeah. Hard to say.
Yeah. Very interesting.
I know you can't comment.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say what's going to happen.
You can't say what's going to happen at all.
That. Yeah. But going back to sort of where Taylor finds herself and the sort of like ambivalence, there were a couple of things in the description of Brockton Bay. Again, anytime we're going through the city, I'm always thinking about how it ties in thematically.
Oh, yeah.
But Taylor talks about how sort of different parts of the city, like, well, the gang tags are like, they're not even worth getting rid of, or like the houses are always going to be run down a little bit. But then she talks about the phenomenon of a broken step, which she has in her house. The step
broken stair.
They've always learned to skip up to the second one, and sometimes she goes out the other door to avoid it.
Yeah.
And it's such a great...
I mean, that is a metaphor. Like that.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. But that, just to fully explicate it, at least how one way I'm taking it, is that the situation that she finds herself in is one where she is adapting to the situation rather than confronting the obvious problem that, could be fixed, even though it takes a lot of effort and there's there are maybe some downsides to doing it or whatever, but it speaks to just how easy it is for people to just get used to a broken step. And then at a certain point, it doesn't even seem like a thing that needs to be fixed anymore.
Yeah.
And I also really liked, we then get a description of the architecture, the colonial and modern architecture of the neighborhood that Brian lives in, that basically it seems like it's a little jarring. Taylor says it doesn't look great. Everything looked nice, but it didn't all look nice together, which I think is a great way to look at Taylor's life right now. Which is
Brian?
It's just everything about it is sort of like good, except if you take a step back, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, she says right at the beginning that this is like, if you ignore the major stressors that I'm not thinking about, this is the first time I've had like this peaceful lifestyle.
I know.
It's so tough because her life was really unsustainable before. And so this is giving her something she really needs. But like you say, when you step back, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't hang together.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah. She's also, I feel like I would have just like played hooky, like fully played hooky. And Taylor is like, she has so much discipline. She's like such a strong person. She's like, this is great. Like, I'm free, I'm at peace. So what I want to do is wake up in the morning and run, and I'll get coffee for my teammates, and I'll do research. And like she is just like a very strong and motivated person in keeping to her routine, even though she is free. It doesn't mean that she won't do the sort of the thing that I would have done, or the more teenagery, like, I can just party all the time, even if that's not sustainable at some point. But
that's when she ends up in a relationship with Neuter.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if this fits into the metaphor. I was just noticing this. So she has to so Brian offers, I can pick you up or you can take the bus. And she looks up. She's like, oh, yeah, there's a bus route I can take. And so she goes and she takes one bus, transfers to another bus to get to his place. And I was like, wow, I would never, ever turn down a car ride if I have to take 2 buses. Like any route that's like take one bus and connect to another bus, I'm immediately like, no, absolutely not, never. And so I was like, wow, actually the buses in Brockton Bay must be pretty reliable. Unlike everything else about this city, the buses seem to run on time.
That's amazing. That's a great point. Yeah. While we're talking about that, Taylor has this thing that it's like, I don't know if it's very Taylor or very Worm or very Wildbow, but I feel like this thing, she's like, oh yeah, Brian's just like lounging around outside. And it's like, isn't that dangerous? It's like, you know, she sort of frames it as like, well, you know, Empire 88 is active and he's black. And like we do know, I guess, for a fact that there's like 50% unemployment. So it is kind of like the city. And we know the city is kind of like cartoonishly a bad place.
Yeah. But
it is this weird, like grimdark probably isn't the right word, but the sort of the heightened sense of urban decay, really feels like it's
not safe to sit outside your building, even in a nice part of town.
Right. It reminds me of the sort of like, again, contemporary politics, the conservative fever dream about what goes on in like these urban Democrat strongholds and like how crime is on the rise even though crime stats are down. And like what's interesting here is that it's not that Taylor is delusional, I think. Mm-hmm. Like she might have a personality where she's kind of like more
a little hypervigilant
about things. That could be true. But it seems like objectively, yes, Brockton Bay is kind of decaying before our very eyes in a way that is much worse than anything that we would see in our actual real life society. But it's like an interesting, I don't know, that parallel to me is very interesting. The sort of like that this is part of the fantasy of this world is like living out like, well, what if crime was that bad? Like, what if the cities were that bad?
There's actually 50% unemployment.
I guess obviously that just makes it a more fertile ground for superheroics, right? Yeah. If nothing else.
Right.
But it's an interesting thing to, I don't know, think about as we keep reading.
Yeah.
I guess it's just the fact that the city is kind of like this caricature, it like lets her insecurities just like be very well justified.
Yeah.
Right. Which is a really interesting
Right. She's not exaggerating any of this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, so Brian's sitting outside and she talks to him, and even before he opened his eyes, he offered me that wide, genial smile that seemed so out of place on his 6-foot-tall frame. It was a smile that hid nothing, as honest and unguarded as you'd expect from a 10-year-old finding out he'd just unwrapped the exact gift he'd wanted for his birthday. I mean, so sweet. Also plays interestingly into what Lisa said about him being transparent.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like this sort of smile that hides nothing. But I don't know that I believe that about him. It just seems like he does have a lot of... Maybe it's not that he has layers. I guess there's like a lot of like darkness and stuff in his path, literally. But he wears it openly, I guess. Which is true. He's the one person who shared his story of the other Undersiders when Taylor was talking to them.
It's really interesting but when he did that, one of the things we noticed is that we got no indicators about how he was saying things, what he was feeling. So it is like, I guess you could read it that, you know, sort of studying contrasts, like the negative emotions are the ones that he hides, but the positive emotions he doesn't, and that's so nice.
Yeah.
Or is it that this is a facade? He knows how to play this part.
And Lisa can't see through it somehow?
Maybe he doesn't. If we, go by literally what he said, the sort of like, I didn't feel a thing, like maybe that's his default, and anytime he's expressing emotions, it's like him really performing, it's a really interesting contradiction in the way that the story talks about him.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, it would be so funny if we get 2 more conversations with Lisa, like the one we had about Rachel, where Taylor's like, hang on, is this thing true about Brian? Is this thing true about Alec? And she's like, yes, everything else I've told you about them is a lie. Here's the real secret. You got it. I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be very funny.
Yeah. Well, so Lisa's take on him is that he's emotionally very transparent. It's easy to see what's going on with him. But that Brian is not sure what is going on with him. She's like...
That's true.
She's like, Brian wouldn't be able to tell you whether he likes you or not. Like, I forget what she says, but it's kind of like until you, like, jolt it, you know, like out of
his comfort zone, maybe.
Yeah. So that's actually a really interesting read on it, is that he's not super in touch with his own emotions, which makes him easy to read sometimes. Right.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe he can sort of lock it down, but that's maybe
not when he doesn't know what he feels.
It's not that he's, like, in control all the time.
Yeah. I wonder if the thing where he doesn't know how he feels about Taylor, like, it seems like he is very, very focused on what he needs to do for his sister, for his family right now.
Yeah.
He's like, everything he's doing is about that. Like, he invited Taylor over to put together furniture to impress this caseworker. Like, that's why he's a villain. That's why he's doing all of this stuff. And I bet that getting into a new relationship does not at all fit with that plan for him.
Yeah.
Like, he is a few months away from turning 18. He has people he needs to impress. He has lawyers he needs to pay. He certainly doesn't want to start dating a 15-year-old, like, right now. Like, regardless of, like, the timing of starting a new relationship at all, I think starting a relationship with someone who's probably about his sister's age, like, I guess maybe she's a little younger, I don't know, but, like, that's probably not a great look, and, like, probably he doesn't want to be dating at all when he talks to, like, the caseworkers and stuff, because, like, oh yeah, and I'll have, like, various girlfriends coming around is not, you know, not going to help his case, even if it's a perfectly fine thing for him to do. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if he's like, no, I like you, but, like, I can't date right now. I have other things going on.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like when she finds him sunning himself, I think he's gotta know.
He's posed.
He's doing that. Like, he knows how good he looks. And he's doing that to make an impression. That doesn't necessarily mean he's all in on somebody, for sure. But
he does like Taylor. Yeah.
And
maybe he, like, is telling himself that he just wants to see her and isn't planning to, you know, do anything. But maybe
exactly.
He gets swept away.
Right. Or maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he's like, it's sort of like, I like he can, I'm sure he can tell that she is into him, gets flustered around. Like,
I'm sure he's used to girls being like that.
Exactly. And so, you know, maybe he likes the attention. And it could be that he's interested in more, or it could be not.
Just don't know yet. Maybe next chapter will shed light on it. I don't know.
Yeah. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. So what else do we want to say about this chapter? I had a couple random things.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Rapid fire.
Random things, yeah. The caveman talk continues to be Buffy speak, and I love it.
Yes.
It's like, car bad, expensive.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, this is Buffy speak. I love that we got the PIGPEN theory confirmed. Not really, but...
I also wrote PIGPEN confirmed in my notes. Yeah, she's looking at the picture and she's like, well, Gru's obviously hard to see, but, like, I'm kind of hard to see because I got so many bugs around me.
Well, what she says is, like, I didn't really notice. Like, I don't really notice having that many bugs around me, but, like, looking at this picture, wow, I really do. So...
Yeah, and then she doesn't think, like, that's weird. She thinks, maybe I could use this.
To disguise my silhouette. Yeah. She's so practical.
Yeah.
The other thing I really picked up on in that newspaper article she's reading, they have an update on the 12-year-old girl who went missing a couple weeks before the ABB stuff started, who's now presumed dead. I don't think we'd heard anything about this before.
Oh, interesting.
Did we?
Well, I don't know. What do you speculate?
I mean, we know a lot.
Well, why did it stand out to you?
Oh, well, just because it didn't ring any bell. Like, a lot of people have gone missing when the ABB stuff started. Like, presumably in the week between Taylor taking out Leung and them meeting Bakura, a lot of people were conscripted into the ABB. So, but this girl, it sounds like this happened earlier, and also it's being treated as, like, this kind of standalone thing, like, not lumped in with, and all these other people.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting.
And, I mean, we know that guy got dissolved, but we don't know of other young people who were killed by the ABB before the villains started attacking them these past few days. I don't really know where, like, I'm trying to put that together with any of the pieces we've seen already. Maybe it's something obvious that I'm forgetting.
Yeah. I mean, very interesting.
Do you feel like I should know what that connects to? Like, should it be obvious? Am I just forgetting, like, something super obvious?
I don't think I can really get into it.
Yeah. But it's not like, you're like, wow, she really forgot those 2 paragraphs in Arc 2 that talked about this 12-year-old girl.
No.
Okay.
I will say there was a moment that is like the very first mention of this that I don't think you could possibly pick up on it except on a reread. But this is the second time this has come up in the story.
Yeah, so I do.
That is like a little bit of a spoiler, and I feel like I shouldn't tell you when it came up before.
That's fair.
But
I'll remain ignorant of that. But
once there's a 3 beat or it comes up again, maybe I can fill you in.
I did pick up on that as like it's treated in the chapter as just a throwaway. Oh yeah, and that girl is presumed dead. But like, why would that be in there if it wasn't going to go somewhere?
Yeah.
So I don't know what is going to happen with that. I can't even remember any 12-year-old girls we've seen except for Vista. But like, we know she didn't go missing, and they know where she is, so it's not her.
Yeah, the other detail was so slight and different enough from this that it would be tough to put the pieces together except on a reread.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder if it's just like someone we've seen in the street or in a crowd or all right. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I did pick up on that, and I think it's going to be significant. And now, having heard you talk about it, I'm extra certain it's going to be significant. So that's fun. Yeah, that was about it for my thoughts on this chapter.
I have a couple random things too. I love how like 2011 it feels. Like we're reminded there are no smartphones. She has to use Lisa's laptop to like do stuff, and then there's no streaming. Right, they're watching like whatever's on TV, and she's sort of saying like, since it's the morning on a weekday, like there's nothing good on. Right.
Yeah, I did notice. I was like, oh, TV for background music or like background noise. Like that is so unrelatable to me. But then, I mean, I don't think it would be a thing I would do anyway, but I also exist in a situation where I do have a smartphone, and if I want background noise, it can be exactly the background noise I want. It could be music. It could be, a YouTube video or something. So.
Oh, okay. There's one. This is like a real, maybe, I don't know if there's more to say about it, but Taylor's love of being unsupervised, it works on a teenager level, and it works so well as a, like, I'm a supervillain or a vigilante level, right? It's like, it totally makes sense. What we've seen of the wards is like, you have to deal with Pigo, you have to deal with all of these like rules and regulations and things.
I forgot her name was Pigo.
Yeah, and so like
Pigo?
she hasn't signed up, and she's unsupervised, and that's great because she can chill in the loft, and it doesn't have to. She's very independent. Yeah, it doesn't need a teacher or a dad.
Violet is becoming a very independent and strong-willed child, so she probably is going to become a villainous vigilante in the future.
Yeah,
we're going to have to be prepared for that.
Yeah,
as long as she has Taylor's strong sense of morality, I'm sure it won't lead her astray in any way.
Yes, definitely not.
I assume that by the time I'm finished reading this book, my takeaway will be like, that's the future I want for our daughter.
Yikes. I guess the last thing, just circling back to my point about the city's architecture, right? I think when I brought it up before, I was kind of like, oh, it's like heightening this contradiction. Like it doesn't all add up. It doesn't make sense. But I actually think it's more similar to the broken stair of like, but people live there all the time. And like, you might look at it, and if you're taking a big step back, you're like, wow, that's ugly. Or like, wow, that like, it's jarring. It doesn't fit together.
Yeah.
But everybody lives there. It gets like,
people make it work.
It is kind of like maybe everyone's always living in contradiction. Like it's not necessarily that these contradictions have to lead to a sudden breaking point, where you have to pick the colonial architecture, the modern architecture, right? Like
you're making this such a good metaphor. I'm really impressed. Yeah. It's Taylor's internal state.
Yeah. So she could just keep living in contradiction, and that could be fine.
She'll just be an Undersider forever, and we'll never have to deal with this whole betrayal question at all.
No? Yeah.
This is the, 1.5 million words of fluff that we've been promised. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, so that's all I had, and there are no new cape names for the next chapter, so I think...
You want to read me that first line?
Yeah, let's get into it. Tangle 6.3. Oh, you're not going to believe this. I opened the glass doors for Brian, so he...
wouldn't have to put down the boxes he was carrying.
Yeah, I mean, some of these sentences are not all going to be...
I mean, that's fair. They weren't designed for this.
These sentences aren't all going to be hugely thematic or...
based on that
loaded with uncertainty.
Into the next chapter. I think the next chapter is mostly going to be about Taylor seeing Brian's space. And I think she's going to really like it. And I think they're going to have a conversation. She's going to learn more about, like, the situation with his sister and how his plans are going. And I can't imagine that they'll have an actual conversation about, like, feelings.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there'll be some complicated stuff from Taylor where she, like, wants to be open with Brian about how she's feeling about, like, everything with the Undersiders. But, like, obviously she's still keeping major secrets. So she has to figure out, like, okay, what do I want to present? And maybe she'll talk to him about the school situation and we'll get some more insight into her intentions and opinions there.
That's so true.
And then I feel like we need to move towards an arc conflict soon. So I don't know, maybe something will arise. The meeting with the caseworker is the kind of thing that makes me really nervous in books.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's such high stakes and it's the kind of thing that like clashes with the, you know, like the supervillain stuff is happening, but then like this is like a real world thing that like everything has to go smoothly for, and like what if the supervillainy messes it up? And yeah, so that kind of thing makes me really anxious. So I am worried that that's going to get messed up in some way that has like bad implications for his sister's future and his plans. But we'll see.
We'll see.
Next time
on Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildvote. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.